Hello, and welcome to the Ladies First Alumni panel. Moderating today will be Barathi. She is a Ladies First alumni herself, one of our venture interns at the Dingman Center, and a founder. So I will let her go ahead and kick it off. Thank you all for being here today.
Thank you for that intro, Lottie. And good afternoon, everyone. My name is Barathi Aravindan, and welcome to our Ladies First alumni panel on adaptability during a time of uncertainty. So really briefly about myself, I started a jewelry company that raised awareness for the poor condition of the environment and ultimately ended up donating $1,315 to the Chesapeake Bay Foundation as a result. And I am also a Ladies First Founders alumni, as Lottie mentioned. And so a little bit about Ladies First. It is the Dingman Center's class for female entrepreneurs at UMD. And so it creates an environment, a very inclusive environment to promote entrepreneurship among women on campus. And the class helped me grow and learn so much, and also helped my venture grow and learn so much. And I will be our moderator for today. And so here we have our lovely panelists, Lucy, Caroline, and Goodness. So I'm gonna hand it off to you three and go ahead and just briefly introduce yourselves and your ventures. So Caroline, if you'd like to start.
Hi, my name is Caroline. I'm currently a senior studying marketing and supply chain and minoring in entrepreneurship technology. I'm the owner and baker of Sweets by Caroline. We are a baking business that specializes in customized gluten-free French macarons, as well as cakes and other desserts that are perfect for engagements, weddings, parties, and other events.
Goodness, if you want to go ahead.
Okay. Hey everyone, my name is Goodness. I'm a senior majoring in marketing. I'm also the founder. I'm a founder of a clothing brand called Gstyles, where luxury meets streetwear.
Awesome, thank you. And Lucy.
Hi, I'm Lucy. I am an alumni of Ladies First and also the University of Maryland. I graduated in 2020, and now I'm working full-time on my company, which is Wanderlust Wardrobe, a personal styling service that seeks to bring people confidence in their wardrobes and teaching them how to do more with less clothing.
So thank you all for joining us today, and I'm super duper excited to hear what you have to say about adapting during a time of uncertainty. So we'll jump right into it. So starting off, if each of you could go down the line and tell us a little bit about what your experience with the Ladies First Founders class was like and how it helped grow your business, and most importantly, what your takeaway was from the class. So we can go in reverse order, Lucy, Goodness, and then Caroline.
Yeah. So the class had a lot of really interesting insights that I got. I remember I learned so many statistics about how women were given less capital than men, and just the gap in wealth that I never knew. I knew about the pay gap, but I didn't know stuff around the pay gap. But other than like learning about how to find my ideal client and law and raising capital, I learned a lot about what other awesome women were doing. I think the network is seriously what made me so excited for the day when class was, because I knew that I was seeing a group of friends, a group of women who were trying to do exactly what I was doing and pave the way for themselves. So getting to kind of feel empowered for that hour on an afternoon just kind of made me go through the rest of my day with more pep in my step. I felt like I had accountability to continue to grow my business, even when like exams would get in the way. I always knew that this group of women was creating incredible things.
I would say that honestly, the experience was life-changing. Just being around powerful, strong women, independent women, honestly helped a sense of like resilience and motivation within myself, and helping me to push through with my business. So it was overall just great. The one thing I would say that I took away from it is nothing worth having comes easy. I think that is really, you get what you put in. So whatever if you put in 50, you get 50. If you put in 100, then you're gonna get 100. So yeah.
Yeah, so I would say I had a great experience in Ladies First, just because I I came from community college, and when I came to College Park, when I transferred to College Park, I like didn't really felt like I belonged or like had anywhere that I belonged to. So when I found out about the Dingman Center, I was like, this is my place. And then I found out about Ladies First, and I was like, I really want to be in this. And like just seeing other women empower other women, it kind of like gave me a sense of community and like a great group of girls, and to encourage each other and empower each other, keep each other accountable for, what we do. And then really also allowed me to focus on my business with schoolwork. And I think the biggest takeaway was like that just because you're a woman doesn't mean you can't make it in the business field or that you can't have your own business. Like you're also a boss, so go get it.
Definitely, I agree with all of you. Great points. And I can definitely see the sense of community, seeing as how all three of you were in the same cohort together and you all are still friends. And I still speak to the women that were in my cohort. So I second everything all of you said. And so right now, a lot of businesses have had to change given pandemic and things like that. I'm sitting at home right now rather than on campus. So I definitely know what that's like in many different ways. But in terms of businesses, a lot of businesses have had to change and adapt during these really weird times. And I'm sure all of you have been affected in the pandemic in one way or another. So could you speak about how COVID and the pandemic has impacted your ventures and how you have pivoted as a result? So goodness, if you want to start us off.
Okay, so in the beginning of when COVID happened, to be honest, business was very, very slow. And at the time, it was hard for everyone. So the bottom line was nobody wanted to buy clothes. Everyone needed their money for essential items, honestly. So at the time, I was just thinking, what does everybody want? What does everybody want to buy right now? What does everybody need, in fact? And it was masks. Like everyone needed masks. So I got blessed with the thought by God, honestly, for donating masks to the community. So I decided to take on a project by donating 200 plus masks, starting with the community around me, not knowing how that was going to affect my business, but it ended up turning out really, really good because it was just that everybody was just like thankful for the fact that they were able to get free masks. So just by doing that alone really opened up and expand my business. I had a lot of people, message me and just to say like, wow, thank you. People are actually like sticking with my business through it all, things like that. So it was very, very encouraging. After COVID, after COVID, the one thing that I was still stick with my business, it would be still donating, the aspect of giving. Like I feel like that's just a life-changing experience, and I'm really glad that I was able to experience it during COVID, and it's still going to be with my business after COVID.
That's awesome. So Caroline, if you want to take it away next.
Yeah, so same thing, like at the beginning of COVID, people were like canceling their events, canceling like their cake orders, macaron orders. And I was like, I don't know what I'm gonna do. But the first thing that I really wanted to do was like reassure my customers that I am taking precautions, like making sure that things are okay. And previously I started seeing people do a lot more online shopping and doing more online purchases. And I was like, how can I adapt to this? So I was like, shipping, like I should just start shipping macarons. And previously I wanted to start shipping, but I just never knew when a good time to really launch that was. And then once COVID happened, I was like, okay, like this is a sign, this is the time to just start this. So before, me and a friend, we like kind of ordered a bunch of macarons and had them shipped to us to kind of like create our own prototype and like see what the best packaging method was. So I just had this like recipe, this like packaging thing, like just sitting, and I just never knew when to really do it. And then once this all like happened, I just started shipping macarons. I started offering contactless pickup and delivery, and Yeah, so that was kind of like how I pivoted to what was like happening and what was going on. And I think after COVID, I do want to continue contactless pickup and contactless delivery just because it's like easier if people just come by, pick something up, or for me to deliver something off to them. So yeah, that's what I did.
That's awesome. And Lucy, if you want to go ahead.
Yeah, no, I'll be totally honest and say when the pandemic started, I like my business mindset crashed a lot because my first thought is, who's going to hire a stylist right now? Like all my friends are getting on Zoom calls and like they're panning down and they're wearing PJ pants. So it's like, is anyone going to hire me just to pick out a shirt and maybe some nice makeup? So I think a lot of these like limiting beliefs slowed down my business, but like any entrepreneur has to do at some point, you got to pick yourself up and pivot. So I kind of just had a creativity session with myself and thought, what's the future of fashion going to look like? And I very quickly realized that we're not going to be going into the office anytime soon. So targeting my market of professional women is going to look very different than it used to look, where I'd go to Banana Republic with them and help them pick out a suit. So I remember I was on a blog and I was reading, I wanted like some good news because everything was pandemic. So I literally like Google searched, tell me something good in the world. And I learned that with the pandemic, the environment was actually getting cleaned up because there was less human activity. And it was obviously slight. So I took this and kind of ran with it. And my passion has always been in sustainable fashion and helping people build a capsule wardrobe and do more with less clothing. So I decided to launch all into that. And I actually made my packages geared towards sustainable fashion and geared towards helping people build that entirely new capsule wardrobe. And especially because people are now working from home, they need a whole new wardrobe because who's going to just wear trousers when they're sitting at their desk? Everyone wants like comfy work joggers. So that's kind of where I'm moving towards. And actually, right now, I'm in the middle of a rebrand to really kind of go all into the sustainable fashion positioning. And I definitely plan to continue that after the pandemic because I think through like rethinking everything, I've really found my sweet spot and found a niche that I'm really passionate about. And I want to also contribute to the environment, similar to what Goodness was saying with wanting to donate. I want to be able to donate to environmental causes as well.
That's awesome. Props to all of you for turning this huge challenge into such great opportunities for each of you in such different ways. That just proves that like if you put your mind to something, like you can do it. You can make the most of any situation you're put in. So definitely props to each and every one of you. And that's awesome that it's also those changes are sticky. Like you plan on keeping those changes. So that's awesome. So up next, if each of you could go down the line and talk about, in general, what the most challenging part about being an entrepreneur has been for each of you. And then on the flip side, what your favorite and most rewarding part has also been. We can go backwards this time.
Okay, perfect. So I would say I'll start with the most challenging. I think the most challenging is especially now being an alumni and realizing I'm not even applying to full-time positions or part-time positions. I'm completely all in. I am doing all of my accounting and the months are just up and down. And they're up and down, not just financially, but also just emotionally. Like with entrepreneurship, you can be on top of the world one day and be like, I'm going to make it. I'm going to build an empire. And then the next day you're like, I'm never going to make it. Oh my gosh, there's so many things that still need to happen. So that's definitely the most challenging part is just keeping myself stable and being like, you know what, growth is slow and we just need to let things kind of run their course. But the most rewarding thing is I love my job. I wake up every single day and I get to help women feel beautiful. Like if I can't, like I can't think of a job that is more of the dream. So even when those challenges do arise, my passion is what keeps me going and just realizing that there are women who come to me, they get their dream wardrobe, they tell me that they feel confident for the first time in years, and they go out and ask for a promotion. And I'm like, whoa, okay, where'd that come from? You go. Like, so that's really what the most rewarding thing is because I'm working with people and helping them.
I would say the most challenging thing of being an entrepreneur is finding balance. I feel like I struggled with that, especially com- transferring from Prince George's Community College to University of Maryland. It was more so finding balance being a student, a friend, a daughter, and then, a business owner. Because after class, you do know you have to study. And then it's like, okay, an hour or two per class studying, that's what they say, right? And then being there for your friends, helping your mom at home, and then having time to find time for your business and marketing and things like that. But I will say the most rewarding part, honestly, for me, um, just seeing my creations come to life, like I feel like that's just a humbling feeling, just starting from a thought alone and then um, moving forward to finding fabric, getting it made, and then seeing people wear it. Like that whole process is just wow. Like it's just wow. Like it's amazing. I don't think I could ever get used to that.
Okay, yeah, so same for me. I think the most challenging part is finding balance because we're doing school, we're doing life, and then we're trying to balance our business. And I've realized that like sometimes you have to give yourself a break. Like you want to do all into your business and like do everything for it, but then you forget that you have to sleep and that you have to eat and that you have to have relaxed time for yourself. So I guess really finding that balance and remembering that it's good to relax sometimes and give yourself a break. Um, I think another thing is also like feeling that you're alone in this. And I think being in programs and things like Ladies First or surrounding yourself with people that are also going through the same thing as you has helped me. And I'm sure a lot of other people and entrepreneurs feel that they're not alone in it and that they're going through the same thing, or people who have been in like the earlier stages or whatever and have also gone through that and that like they also felt the same way. And I think the most rewarding thing is similar to what you guys are saying, like the reward is seeing the reaction from people wearing what you have or like doing what you do and like the passion that you have. Like every day I wake up and I'm like, I love what I do. I love seeing people eat what I make and how it makes them happy. Um, like just during COVID, someone ordered a cake for their daughter, and then they reached back out to me like later on, and they said that that cake that I made for their party or for like their daughter was the only thing that made her birthday feel normal out of like everything that was going on in the world right now. And like hearing things like that made me want to keep on doing what I'm doing and pushes me to keep doing it. So, yeah.
I think it's great how each of you make an impact in your own ways. And there are the challenges of being an entrepreneur, but even just the way all of you describe it, the rewards far exceed the challenges. So last but certainly not least, what advice do you have for entrepreneurs right now, especially during such weird times and given how you've adapted? Do you have any pieces of advice? And what are some resources you would recommend to those watching? Other than, of course, joining Ladies First, since that's a must, of course. So any pieces of advice? We can go Goodness, Lucy, Caroline.
I would say, like Caroline said, I would really say keep going, and you are not alone. Like that's the one thing I have to tell myself literally every single day. I am not alone. I'm pretty sure other people are probably going through the same thing as well. Um, so definitely join Ladies Founders. Like, come on. I'll also say research. Like YouTube is like my best friend. If I don't know anything, I would literally go on YouTube and say how to package, cheap ways to package, just package my orders, or how do you package your orders? Like just little things like that, because YouTube is a search engine operation. So you can easily find little things by just putting in little keywords. So YouTube and Google is definitely my best friend. And you really, when you're on YouTube, you definitely hear other people's story and how they pivoted and see the results. So yeah.
Yeah, I second the YouTube for sure. The best teacher. My advice would probably be to launch imperfectly. I think it's really tempting when you're trying to start a business that you feel like everything has to be perfect before you start telling people about it. And I probably launch like one great thing after every 10 ideas, because the truth is you're going to launch things and they're going to fail and you're going to make mistakes and you're going to have to move forward and move from that. So just start. If you have an idea, just take the first step, start talking to people about it, and just commit yourself to it. And in terms of resources, I think it's important, besides obviously like learning what you need to learn, doing market research, is just to surround yourself with really like content that serves you instead of puts you down. So for me, it's if I'm going for a walk, I'll listen to like a podcast like Gold Digger from Jenna Kutcher. And even when I'm scrolling through Instagram, if I notice that someone's putting down women or kind of dragging me down, I'll unfollow them. So it's just a matter of making sure that your environment is supporting you and supporting your goals. So even when you're not working on your business, you're surrounded by people who support you and want you to succeed.
Yeah, I think same thing what everyone is saying. Surround yourself with a great group of people, like-minded people, so that, you're not alone, you're going through it together. And of course, go to Ladies First, but also go to the Dingman Center, because if you have an idea or you need help with an idea or anything, go to the Dingman Center, look for Lottie or anyone in the team, and they're more than willing to help you. When I first transferred here, I was like, I couldn't find anywhere that I felt like I belonged. And I heard about the Dingman Center, and I was so scared to just walk into the Dingman Center because it was just something that was new to me. But then I saw Lottie and I just felt so welcomed. And since then, it's always just felt like a welcoming, family. So go to the Dingman Center, and if you see an opportunity, just go for it. You never know what will happen from it and where it might take you. So, yeah.
All great pieces of advice. Thank you so much for all of that. So now we would like to open up the floor for any questions that the audience may have. You can either type it in the chat or you can go ahead and unmute your microphone.
And feel free at this time to turn your videos back on, turn your sound on. Since we're a small group, we can go ahead and just chat. And I'm going to actually kick off the questions. Thank you all for making this time to be here and for your wonderful comments. I'd like to learn a little bit more about how you went into Ladies First and how you came out of Ladies First. So when you started the practicum in the spring, all of you were in last spring's practicum, correct? So when you went in, where was your business at? And when you came out, where was your business at? What do you think changed you along the way? And you can go in whatever order you want now, because this is up to you to answer.
For me, when I was first going into Ladies First, I wasn't as confident, and that was also when Pitch Dingman was happening. So I was kind of nervous, and it was just all just happening at first. And then once Ladies First started, just seeing all of these incredible businesswomen all together, kind of bouncing ideas off of each other, everyone helping each other, that boosted my confidence. And I'm always very shy and I don't like to speak up, but seeing all these other people really put confidence into me to speak up for my idea, what I want to say, make sure that I'm heard. And then I guess coming out of Ladies First, more confident in myself and in my business.
Yeah, I can follow. Definitely everything Caroline said is very true, especially finding the Dingman Center. I like to say that I feel like I found entrepreneurship before I found my business, simply because I was coming back from a year abroad, and I remember telling my family that I feel so sad that after next year I have to get a 9-to-5 job and I won't be able to travel. And being flexible and being able to kind of set my own life and my own schedule was always the goal. And I had been a personal stylist since my sophomore year, but it was so informal. It was like ladies were paying me in cash to go to the mall with them and shop with them. So I knew that if I was going to turn this into something full time, it would need to turn into somewhat of a company and something that has staying power. So I remember I was in the Dingman Center. I was like, I want to be an entrepreneur. And I actually saw Sarah, and Sarah was like, oh, your personal styling business could be something, like you should sign up for Ladies First. And I was like, okay, I have 20 credits next semester, but like, what's 21? Or, you know, like I just knew that I could make it happen, because that's like what I want out of life, is to work for myself. I knew I wouldn't be happy in a company. So I did it, and I learned so much. I learned, I think when you start a business, you're so wide-eyed and you think like it's going to work and everything's going to be perfect and this is what it's going to look like. But getting so much information really helped me transform from like that girl at the mall that's like informally helping women to like having my company with branding and with awareness and a customer base and a marketing strategy. So I'm really grateful that Ladies First really helped me solidify that to the point where I'm actually full-time now and I don't need to work for a company. So after the pandemic, being completely remote, I'll be able to style people even when I'm traveling.
Yes, I will agree with the both of you. I would say before getting into Ladies First, I wasn't as confident in myself. If anybody asks me, what do you do? I'm like, I'm a designer. It's like you can already hear it in my voice. It's like I'm a designer. Like I'm not really explaining what I'm doing. So that's me before getting into Ladies First, and then just being in Ladies First and understanding like I'm not the only one, and everyone is facing the same problem. Really, just gave me a sense of like confidence. I would say during Ladies First, it was just so much growth, I would say, from all of us. And leaving after Ladies First, I would say then I got more confidence in my business, more confidence in myself. Does anybody was to ask me, what do I do? I'm easier, just to answer the question right there and then. So I would say confidence, definitely confidence.
Awesome. Thanks, y'all. Any other questions? And they can be group questions, questions about Ladies First. It can be questions about any of their individual businesses.
I have a question.
Well, go ahead.
You can go ahead.
Yeah, thanks for allowing me to visit you guys today. I know when I was in College Park, I think Dingman Center was just starting. So it's very exciting to see you guys having all kinds of business. And I remember when I was there, I didn't really see much going on. It was just like having an idea, Dingman Center, and entrepreneurship program was probably just starting too. It looks like it has grown a lot. But so how many? So it has classes. How many students in those programs now? Lots of entrepreneurs.
Sorry, was this a question towards the Dingman Center? I was responding to someone coming in. Holly, do you want to take this one?
Sure, I will. We have grown, May. Thank you for recognizing that growth since you were probably a student here. I'm the managing director. Yes, so we do work with students from all across campus. And if you totaled the number of students that walked inside the Dingman Center for just one offering over a year, it would be several hundred. But there's sort of at the bottom of the funnel, we have about, I would say each year, about 20 to 25 student teams that we're really working with on a regular basis throughout the academic year. And that could be through this Ladies First program, our Pitch Dingman competition, or our Summer Accelerator. Those are really the most robust. So yeah, and we have several courses now, probably more courses than you experienced. And we have a minor as well. So we're engaging at the top of just exposure and attending events, several hundred students every year, but whittling that down to the most talented, which you see here today, that we spend the most time with.
That's great. I actually work with a lot of women business owners. I think that's why my partner sent me this link today. I want to check this out. But my clients are mostly mature professionals, and they have small businesses. Yeah, I think even across that, across the board of women of all ages tend to ask for less when they have their business evaluated, and they usually are very like humble about their businesses, and they tend to undervalue their businesses. And pricing wise, they also tend to go a little bit lower. Yeah, so I'm glad to see, you guys are so young and still already aware of these issues, and probably going to make a lot of changes down the road when you guys become very mature professionals in 20 years and 10 years. I think the landscape will probably be very different. So it's encouraging, very encouraging.
Hi, my name is Anna. I'm a senior. So I have one business and I've been going to Dingman about, and then I have another business that I have not yet brought to Dingman. And I think something that I'm really struggling with right now is like imposter syndrome, because one of them I want to launch is like in a very oversaturated market, but I think that like it's an app and I think it can do a lot of good, but I'm like, oh, like why should I even bother? Like it's just an oversaturated market. Like how can I like make a difference and actually like do something with it? So if anyone has anything to speak on like overcoming that, I'd really appreciate it.
Yeah, I'd be happy to speak on that. First of all, I'm curious, like, what's the app that you're thinking of? Like, what industry is it in?
It's in like self-care.
Oh,
I
awesome.
don't want to say more because I'm being
I
recorded.
know, yeah, like I know we're recording, so just keep it on the DL. But I think imposter syndrome, I struggled with it a lot because I kept telling myself that like I'm lucky. And the truth is, I mean, okay, I am lucky that I'm surrounded by awesome people and I had support in my business, but everything I created for my business, I did. You know, I was the one that buckled down. And I think you need to remind yourself of that even though it's an oversaturated market, you obviously had this idea because there was something you thought you could do better or something that you thought you could make different or make a difference. And you just have to keep leaning into that and being like, the market's oversaturated, but why are people still struggling with self-care? Probably because there could be something that's better. So I mean, as a thinker and as an optimizer, I think you just need to give yourself credit for these out of the box ideas and just realize that sure, you're lucky to have people around you, but it's not luck. It's because you're talented and you're able to create something.
Thank you.
Yeah, of course.
Well, I would say I can encourage you on that, Anna. When I got into the financial service field, I thought the same thing. There's so many financial advisors, so many CPAs, like so many CFPs out there. And I felt like, and I felt, I was an immigrant, like, why anybody wanted to listen to immigrants? So many native advisors there already. But you will find your audience, you'll find your customers, because it's just so wide. The market is so wide. There's so many different people out there. And, I find my customers, and I'm sure someone will like yours, your idea and your story, your background, and they feel encouraged by your product and services. So I think everyone is story. Everyone's still unique, and there's a value in that, and people will buy that.
So we have a question from the audience. So if each of you could talk about how large your teams, or if you're a solo founder, and what that's been like.
Wait, repeat the question one more time, please.
So how big is your team / are you a solo founder, and what's that been like for you? Goodness, if you want to start us off.
So I would say during COVID, since COVID started, I was blessed to form a team now. And before COVID, when I was just sole, it was a bit hard for me having to do everything at once. Having to market, having to design, having to get the fabric. It was overwhelming and I really couldn't do it. But then I was blessed with finding people to help me, especially now. Someone is taking over my Instagram and someone is helping with customer service. And I'm now more focusing just on designing, which makes it a whole lot easier and really just allows me to, well, definitely scale more because now I'm able to reach more audience and get, more into my market.
So it is still just me baking and everything with COVID. Before COVID, I did want to bring someone along to help me with the baking and everything. But since I am still baking from my home, it's just been me. But I do have someone that helps me with my Instagram, and then also someone that keeps the website and all the orders that do come in on track and kind of helping me with that so that I can really focus mainly on the baking. And then I recently also started attending farmers markets and pop-ups. So I usually have like a part-time intern that helps come every time, helps me set up and helps me throughout the market. And my mom also helps me like at home with packaging and all the little things that I need help with. So yeah.
Yeah, I'm also on my own with my business, but one of the things that I was really scared to do in the beginning phases was spend money on myself. I thought like for a business to be like a true entrepreneur, you gotta like just have a grassroots effort and not spend more than $5 on yourself and grow. But very quickly, I realized that obviously you don't want to be like frivolous with your investments. But if you're not very good at something or something's making you pull your hair out, it's okay to ask for help and hire someone to help you. Like I did that with graphic design because mine looked like a 2-year-old made it. So it's important to realize that you don't have to be everything all the time and that there are people who specialize in what maybe you're not as good at. So even if you are on your own, it's okay to bring people on, even just temporarily.
I have a quick question on that. Have you guys ever like swapped services or worked together among other student founders?
I haven't with this group, but I swapped with my cousin. She's really good at photography.
Yeah, like Sarah from Sustainable Socialite, she has like offered to help us take photos and just like help us here and there on little things. And again, with like other people and the ladies first, we've all kept in contact through like our group chat. So if we ever see like an event that we might see fit for someone else, we'll like put it in the group chat and just like kind of keep each other updated and see wherever anyone needs help.
Yeah, I'll definitely say Sarah helping out with photography and us still connecting through GroupMe and sometimes on social media too. Like when I see Caroline, I'm like, hey girl, I see you, or things like that. Like we definitely still stay connected for sure, for sure.
Yeah. I love seeing everyone's Instagram. That's the one thing that like, especially with baked goods, I'm like, oh, you're making me so hungry.
So I had a question for each of you. So have you ever been treated differently being a woman in entrepreneurship? And if so, how? And how did you deal with it?
I would say yes. There were like times when people would be like, oh, it's just like a cupcake business, or like, oh, it's just like a baking business, but it's like not a baking, like it's not just a cupcake business, it's macarons, and there's a lot of work that goes into it. Like there are a lot of things that people don't see that goes into your business. And I feel like some people are like undermining you because you're a woman and that they don't think that you can do it. But like hearing those things make me want to go 10 times harder and be like, yeah, I can do it. Like I can prove you wrong. I guess like in the Dingman competition, I kind of felt like intimidated at first because in the finals, I was kind of like the only female that was competing. And I kind of felt like nervous because I was like, I'm by myself. Everyone kind of like has their own team. And it's just like a room full of guys and it's just me, like this little Asian girl. But I felt like that empowered me more to be like, yeah, I'm the only female here. Like I made it this far, I can do it. So yeah.
Yeah, I definitely, oh, go ahead, goodness. I saw you like briefly unmuted.
You could go ahead.
Okay. So piggybacking off of Caroline, definitely with the undermining of your business, I feel that a lot with personal styling. And it's when I tell people I'm a personal stylist, they're just like, oh, that's cute. So like, when are you going to get a real job? And I'm like, no, like this is my job. And I feel like sometimes people have a hard time realizing that because as a woman in entrepreneurship, I've come to realize that some businesses are okay for a woman to have. Like it's okay for a woman to start an Etsy shop and sell artwork and work in fashion. But when I would start talking to people about how I want to scale this company to 6 and 7 figures, they get scared and they're like, oh, you like overstepped your boundary. So I really think that's where I definitely see the biggest discrepancy is when big goals start getting talked about, because it's expected that men are going to grow a company to be as big as it can be. But like women kind of need to stay in their lane and stay in this kind of playing small. And that's like really what I want to just like throw out the window and kind of break this new glass ceiling of women entrepreneurs. If you want to start a small business and keep it small and just live an awesome life, like go ahead. But also if you want to build like an $8 million tech app, like do that, you know? So it's just a matter of realizing that women can do all sorts of businesses, not just stereotypically like appropriate for a woman business.
Definitely, I would agree with that, honestly. I would say for me, well, when I started off, custom, I guess with my customs, just making clothes without, scaling into a brand and manufacturing, I would say that with a lot of guys, they have problems with like the bottom of their pants. So just hemming the bottoms of their pants, making it smaller. And every time someone will recommend them to me, they're like, oh, are you sure she can do it? Like just kind of undermining my business. Like, are you sure she can taper my pants? Like, and I'm like, yeah, I can taper your pants. Like, just give me a shot. And it was annoying having to always have to like prove myself, like just give me a shot type thing. But I would say after taking 1 or 2 or 3 customers, like male dominated customers, it really like opened up a lot of doors. They looked at me a lot more different, like, wow, she's a woman and she's able to taper my pants. Because most of them usually go to male tailors, just because they're more comfortable with them. But just the fact that one, I'm a woman and they feel like I'm gonna make it girly or I'm not gonna make it right, whatever the case is, gave me a chance to actually, try it out, and it ended up being good.
So we have a question in the chat, and Ike asked, between diligence and consistency, which is more of a priority to your business, or is it more of both?
I would say both. I feel like it's important to balance the two because with consistency, you want to make sure you're like posting consistently or making sure like the recipe and like the macarons are always you know, the presentation's always the same, or like they're always tasting the same, or the quality is the same, but also making sure that, you know, you're being consistent with what you're doing and how effectively you're doing your business. So I think both.
Yeah, I'd agree with that for sure. I think both are very important, because if you just like promote your business once and then go off the face of the earth for 6 months, I mean, you're not going to have great results. But as a person who's really passion driven, I'm that person who gets a burst of energy and then will think of a bunch of things between the hours of like midnight and 4 a.m. And it's just ridiculous, but that's when it hits me. So I think it's also okay to have those moments where you're really like, sometimes you're going to be more consistent, and then other times you're going to be more like passion driven. So it's okay if there's like periods of your life where you are a little less consistent, or you are going through a period of relaxation, needing to take a step back. I think it's everything in moderation, kind of.
Yeah, so I'll definitely say both, everything in moderation, understanding that it's okay to take some time for yourself and just focus more so like the foundation of your passion. And it's also okay to, stay consistent, but, staying consistent is something that I would say that's also very needed, because in social media nowadays, you post something today, you don't post something tomorrow. It's like they forgot about you. Like, where are you at? So always, staying consistent with that so your audience doesn't forget about you. I would also say, that too.
Are there any other questions from the audience that anyone would like to ask? If not,
Can I have a question for Goodness and Lucy? Are there any launches that we should be looking out for, or any upcoming stuff that you guys might be putting out? Let us know.
Yes, I am launching this Sunday actually on a whole line. So this line includes females and male clothing. I think I was talking to you guys about that in Ladies Founders. I wanted to tap into the male community. So this is going to be the line that I actually have diversity in there. So look out, look out, look out.
Yeah, no, I'm also doing a huge rebrand. It's the biggest rebrand I've done since starting my company. I'm going to be going all in with travel styling, capsule wardrobe styling, and sustainable fashion, and really niching down to what I love and helping people on the go be able to look fashionable, but also not let fashion rule their life. I want fashion to fit into people's lifestyle. So I'm really excited. It's probably going to be new branding, new website, and I'm right now set for that launch to happen closer to 2021. So definitely something a little bit more down the road. But Caroline, I want to put it on you. What should we look out for?
Well, I just dropped a Halloween treat box. So if you can go to the website and look at that. And also this Saturday, I will be at Femme Fatale DC for a pop-up event. So yeah, and I think Sarah from Sustainable Socialite will be there this Saturday. And then I think Monica will be there next week with Lunex. So yeah, go check it out.
I have a last question, just because you guys started talking about like launching new product lines and related new websites and new branding. What is your best advice? I know like funding is obviously never like, there's no like one answer to like, here's how you make money and get capital. But especially at the early stages, you usually have to like burn a lot to make a lot, or to make anything. So what is your best advice? At this point, we're already doing like second iterations and new launches for like getting money to like launch your first website or your first app or your first clothing line, etc.
I would say do what you can with what you have. So there's definitely, there's definitely cheap ways to start off. For instance, for like website designing, instead of going to like a monthly subscription website like Shopify or Wix, you can start off with Big Cartel. That doesn't take anything from you monthly just to start off. And just finding different ways to still get what you want really with what you have. It's like the best advice I would give, because no one really starts off their brand perfect, everything perfect, like Lucy was saying. Yeah, so no one really starts their brand off perfect, so it's okay, because once you start, as you're growing, your brand grows at the same time, and that's something I had to learn. You don't have to have exactly the best website right now. It's okay, because once you start and you have your audience and you have more funds, then you can get into a better website. So that's one of it.
I would say kind of just use like social media, like Instagram. I know TikTok is really big now. Maybe like just post something for people to see so that they can get a glimpse of what you're doing, or maybe even like a photo of like the founders or like the people that are working on the product. Because I realized that, yeah, you're like posting your products, but they want to see the people that are behind the product and get to know you. So maybe like posting stuff about yourself or the people that are making things like behind the scenes, maybe like a screenshot of like what you're doing or what you're creating to really get people interested and like to follow you and like tell their friends about it. So I think using free tools like that to kind of start building is a really good way.
Yeah. I mean, very few entrepreneurs just come in with like tons of money to drop on a completely new business. So my personal philosophy is do it yourself or spend the money. Personally, if I'm going to spend money on getting a website or getting something done or branding, I'm going to drop an investment on something that I know is going to be really good. Because the issue is when you buy a bunch of cheap things and you try and cut costs like crazy for the things that are really important, you end up having to redo it and do it again. So if I were you and if you were starting something, my biggest investment to start out would be a website that you DIY on Squarespace. It's drag and drop, really easy, and just have some simple, clean branding and interface. Because at the end of the day, when people go onto your website or your Instagram, I mean, we're such a visual society. So you want to make sure you're presenting yourself really well from the get-go, because it kind of just increases that expertise. But don't feel pressure to, like we were all saying, have everything perfect from the get-go. You can always try again and redo things. And every single month, I take a certain part of my income and I put it into Make My Business Better fund, just because, you know, you're going to obviously want to optimize as you grow. So just keep some money on the side and let yourself grow. And that's one of the reasons why I want my bigger rebrand to be at the beginning of 2021. I want a little bit more time to get some money in the bank.
So before we close, can you let us know each of your websites or Instagrams or how we can learn more and where we can learn more? Because I know I want to keep up with all of you, even though I already follow, I think, all of you on Instagram. But please repeat it in case I forget, and your websites.
Okay, well, Instagram, you can follow my business at Gstyles Official. So Gstyles Official. And then for my website, you can check out updates, www.gstylesclothing.com.
Lucy, go ahead.
Okay. So for me, my website is www.wanderlustwardrobe.com, and my Instagram is @wanderstylechat.
You can find me at Sweets by Caroline on Instagram, as well as Facebook and Yelp too. And then for my website, it's www.sweetsbycaroline.com.
And if you have any more questions on the Ladies First or the Dingman Center, you can find us online as well. Thank you all for being here today. I think we will close. Barathi, you want to add some final words?
I was just going to say thank you all so much for coming, and a huge thank you to our panelists. I know I learned a lot, and if I could re-enroll in Ladies First Founders, I could, because you all have convinced me to, but I don't think that's an option. But yes, you can find more about Ladies First at go.umd.edu/ladiesfirst. And thank you all for coming.
The interest form is live, so feel free to fill it out.
Bye.
All right. Bye, y'all. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good seeing you.